Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dumb and Dumbest podcast with my beautiful co-host Curtis Dewar. This is a
That's
music
me.
podcast where everything is terrible and the house is on fire. And today we have our wonderful guest, Jadd Shickler, who I was hoping would pipe in there, but we didn't rehearse that. So,
Oh, well, you know, I didn't want to chime in too early.
Absolutely. So, Jadd, how the hell are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on. How you guys doing?
You know, Curtis is playing in traffic. I'm in Florida.
I'm playing in traffic, yeah.
It's an average day in the Dumb and Dumbest world.
Mm-hmm.
One of these in traffic that owns an undisclosed location in Florida. All right.
Exactly. What more could a boy want? Point being, can you give sort of the listeners some background on who you are and what you do, and sort of the recent turns and events that your life has taken?
Sure. Yeah. So right around 20 years ago, right out of college, I founded a record label called Meteor with my best friend. We were both right out of college. We had no idea what we were going to do. We kind of fell into it. Didn't have any music industry plans or experience, but we were fans and we figured it out. And the timing worked out. It was kind of the dawn of the internet and shopping online and learning about music and finding out about bands online. So it was a good time for us to kind of start we started the all that's heavy online store in the record label Meteor City. So yeah, that lasted for about 10 years. I sold both and then kind of got out of the business for a little while, came back a few years ago, started writing for the Ripple Effect blog, then started working for Magnetic Eye Records and have gotten very involved with Magnetic Eye. But along the way, I had the idea that I kind of wanted to start my own thing again. I wasn't sure what I wanted it to be, other than I didn't think I wanted to do a traditional record label again, because I don't know, there's a lot of traditional labels out there all kind of fighting for the same people's attention. And I thought that if I did something again to release music that I liked, I also wanted to make sure that it was very clearly and obviously different. And so I had the idea, I don't know, I used to be the friend in college who always would make like mixes for my friends. I'd be discovering bands and coming up with the stuff that I wanted to expose them to, and sending mixes around the world from Florida, where I went to school. And I always kind of missed that. I mean, there's different ways of kind of doing that these days, most of them digital in terms of music discovery. But I thought it might be cool that if I could create a kind of a subscription-based curated series of releases for people who are kind of into the idea of discovery and just signing up for something that they knew that they were likely to dig stylistically. I mean, I thought that would be something that I would probably sign up for as a fan. And so I started working on seeing about creating it. And it took a couple of years, but we just launched it. So myself and my partner, his name's Peter, he's in Sweden. He's kind of my head creative and working through all the ideas and so forth. But we basically just launched this thing that's called Postwax. And when I say launched, we pretty much unveiled it to the world. It's going to start in 2019, probably February. And we just opened it up to basically for signups. And we're doing our best to get the word out and try to explain what it is. Obviously, the tough parts are, first you have to explain to somebody what it is, and you have to explain to them why they would want to sign up for a series of records if they may only know one or two of the bands on the project. But that's been the challenge and the fun. So it's going pretty well.
Is it vinyl only?
So the main subscription is going to be vinyl only for sure. We're doing kind of this lavish, super exclusive design where all the records are going to come in these custom created sleeves, slipcase, all this extra stuff. And that is going to be vinyl only. At some point, we're going to do digital. Everybody who buys into the vinyl is going to automatically get the digital. But we definitely want to have a period during which this is the vinyl and the subscription series is the only way to hear this stuff. We're not trying to be restrictive. We just want people to get it and dig it for what it is as a series, and not be sort of trying to cherry pick this record or this song off of it instantly. I mean, everybody will get their chance. Eventually it'll go digital, and people can add the one song to their Spotify playlist if they want. But
I have a question about it. Now,
Yeah.
just to clarify, so these are unique releases, or some of these are reissues, or what?
Brand new. Everything's brand new.
Cool.
Some bands on the project people will know or recognize the names of. I mean, we're leading off with a new release from Elder, and they just recorded that in October of year. Basically, we're on tour in Europe, and kind of just went straight off the road into a studio in Berlin for 3 days of recording their jams, and it's just going to be brand new. Evan Domcraft, who will have appearances on there, including a guest appearance from Mark Lanigan. Leah from Best Bar Yeltsin, which is a cool Swedish doom band. She's guesting on their release. And then there'll be a new release from Lowrider, who people who've been kind of long-time stoner rock, desert rock fans will remember Lowrider. They're kind of the original Swedish desert rock band that have been doing it since 1988. They were the first band I ever signed on Meteor City, and one of our best-selling records we ever did. But they hadn't been super active. But they've been back playing the festival circuit for a few years.
Cool.
And they were due for some new music.
Cool. Now, Matt, can I ask another question? Or
what now, Jadd?
It'll be finishing. I was basically saying, so yeah, it'll be a series of a total of seven records, all new from different bands, over the course of 2019.
Cool. That was basically my question: is how many records is there going to be?
Yeah. Originally I was aiming for one a month, and then quickly determined that was completely masochistic to try to figure out how to coordinate 12 records over the course of a year, on time and and consistently.
Now, how long does the person have to subscribe for when they sign up? Is it for the whole series, or just for a month, or what?
Yeah, so I was we kind of realized after the fact, this is one of the glories and fun of marketing, is realizing how you may have kind of misappropriated terminology and just have to adapt while you're going. So we say subscribe because it's delivered like a subscription. You sign up once, and then you just sit back and wait, and everything shows up, lands in your mailbox. It's not a subscription in the way that you don't join or drop off whenever you feel like it, like you might with a magazine subscription. This is basically sign up for the year, and you get the year.
So you pay up front.
Well, you pay up front for the entire year. We have we have a Kickstarter running right now. We launched a little over, I think like the Sunday before last, or I don't know when this will publish, but it was about 10 days ago. And we passed our initial goal within 36 hours. So that was great.
Oh, cool.
Showed some real interest. We obviously we're onto something. The Kickstarter is definitely the best price, but we also have signups through our website, which is brucefuneral.com. And we got payment plan options on there where you can pay over the course of 3 months or pay over the course of 6 months, because we know that a few $100 all in one shot is definitely a bit of a bigger ask. Even though if people broke down how much they spent on vinyl over the course of the year, I'm sure it would dwarf that few $100.
I'm sure.
Well, yeah. I think it's, to some extent, it's sort of like the Prophecy Productions model, where it's like essentially a luxury product.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
More
than Columbia House.
Yeah. Like we're not selling, with Prophecy, we're not selling records to people who don't have money for records.
Exactly.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is not. Yeah, this is not for the casual. Oh, maybe I'll get back into vinyl this week. No, this
Yeah.
is not them. this is
Yeah.
this is the people who are already buying the limited, super exclusive, diehard editions that are 75 copies available, et cetera, et cetera. So
I think it
to
sounds
them,
awesome. I think you'll do well with it.
thanks. Well, yeah, like I said, the biggest challenge has been just sort of communicating a lot of what you've been asking. How many records is it? Where do I sign up? How does it work? Yeah. So
Next dumb question. Do you include shipping in the cost, or is that going to be like an additional fee that they have to come up with later?
it's included based on where they're located.
Okay.
We've got shipping partners in the U.S. and the UK. So that enabled us to get the Europe and the UK shipping down a bit, and not everybody's looking at the ridiculous cost prohibitive shipping from the United States. So that's all broken out on the Kickstarter and on the website.
So what's the total cost an American would have to pay to get the subscription today from you guys before as a holiday gift subscription for somebody?
I think it ends up working out to like $280 or so, which if you break that out into the 7 records, it ends up being about $40 a record, which includes the slipcase, which includes the shipping.
And a digital download, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Just not immediately. But yeah, we have
cool.
6 of the artists basically confirmed and revealed, and we're solidifying the last one, and we hope to be able to announce the last one, which should be a pretty big get within the next week and a half or so. I mean, not to say that Elder and Lowrider and Dom Craft and Mark Lanigan aren't already pretty big deals on their own, but we're looking for one more that really just kind of will validate what we're doing. We've had a lot of bands that were into it, and they just didn't have the material, didn't have the time that maybe showing up on subsequent years down the road. So hopefully this first year will let us come out of the gate really big and establish how cool this thing is. The toughest part up to this point has been me trying to talk about how cool it is without having anything to show anyone, because it doesn't exist yet. Because we're going to be producing these based on once we know how many subscribers we have. So I just have to keep going. Trust me, I've been doing this for 20 years. It's going to be awesome, but I can't show you anything yet because it doesn't exist. Next year, it'll be a lot easier. I can be like, look at last year. Look how awesome this was. Here's an image. Here's a picture. Here's a video.
So just to clarify, you actually haven't produced. You actually haven't even put the orders into the record yet until you find out how many people are subscribing. Then, right?
I spent months. Yeah, essentially, I spent months plotting out every little tiny detail about the production side, about the custom creation, about the packaging, and so forth. But and I know kind of what our target is, but we're not going to get things underway. Oh, and also Elder's the first release on the project, and they're still in the middle of mixing their release. So
just to clarify, because this is an important lesson for bands, if I'm understanding this correctly, you didn't actually put any money into the project for vinyl or not much until you figured out how many people are actually going to pony up the money, correct?
That is right. Definitely not a model that you can necessarily reliably always replicate.
Definitely.
But
totally.
Yeah, if you can fund if you're looking for lessons for small labels and aspiring artists, sure, absolutely. If you can fund what you're planning to do partially or entirely based on pre-orders, do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think anybody does. I don't think many people are doing that nowadays. That's a real cool thing.
Well, like I said, I mean, we have a goal in mind, and there's a good chance that we may produce based on the target that we want to have, even if we don't get that many signups within the window. And we may just do it anyway and let people continue to subscribe and sign up for the first month or so. But I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I'm hoping the interest continues to explode the way it has already, and we just end up hitting our target and being able to close up the shopping cart.
Are you willing to say how many people you're trying to get signed up? What's your target?
I mean, I'd love to see 500,
Cool.
which I don't think is, I think is kind of feels like a nice round number.
Yeah.
When I think about, you know, the work I've done for Magnetic Eye, what I've seen for other labels like STB, Ripple, I don't think 500 is unreasonable for something really cool. The only way to get new music from, you know, this handful of awesome bands during this period. And that whole idea of just being one of the only ones to have gotten in.
Yeah. It's like a collectible.
You know, collector's mentality.
Absolutely. Where did the inspiration for this kind of come from?
I mean, again, I guess it was kind of the idea that, you know, there's so much music out there that it's so hard to keep up. And I for one, as a fan, always feel like I'm missing. It's like this feeling in the back of your mind at all times. I guarantee there's 20 bands I should probably be listening to that I've never even heard of. So
Yeah.
this was just kind of this idea like, wow, wouldn't it be cool to be able to sign up for a series that just somebody just delivers me great music? Not to say that I'm, you know, against going and having to track down and find bands. I do it all the time. But wouldn't it be cool to just get 7 awesome records from some bands I know and some bands I don't, that I'm just going to dig all of them? Yeah, I'd love that. So I produced it in part for fans like me. To be.
I think it's phenomenal. Sounds great. Now, one other question I got before Matt takes over the questioning, because I got to be quiet for a minute here. I was going to ask you, is the art all like original stuff that you guys are putting together? Or is that the band have some input, or what?
So yes and yes.
Okay.
We actually went and found. Again, Peter, my creative partner in Sweden, he's like a world-class designer. He works with tons of amazing artists, and he went looking and found a couple of possibilities for artists. And when we kind of settled on one, he pitched this guy the project and essentially said, here's what we're doing. It's going to be a series of records. The music's going to stand alone, but we want the releases to all kind of connect in some way. And we think that way should be visually. So how would you feel about producing these cover art pieces for these 7 connected releases plus an 8th piece, where the 7 covers will essentially stand alone but have connecting elements. And then once you have the entire series, if you want, you can assemble all 8 pieces into this big poster. The bands are being looped in terms of like, yeah, and the bands are being, you know, invited to kind of, you know, chime in and tell us, you know, what, you know, lyrically, thematically, what's your stuff kind of about, what's it touching on, what kind of things would you like to see, what would you not want to see. You know, unsurprisingly, everybody's kind of like anti the familiar stoner rock tropes. Nobody wants to see wizards, you know, bongs and stuff. So yeah, I know. But yeah, so this guy's getting to work. So Peter's kind of working with him. He's going to be handling final design and this artist in Germany, who incidentally, this guy, I mean, his stuff is mind blowing. He's had stuff published in like the New Yorker in the last year. These illustrations are just staggering. So yeah, I can't wait to see what he does in conjunction with these bands.
Neat. Matt, you got to ask a few questions because I got to go silent for a minute.
Right. So simultaneously, Jadd, you've been taking on work with Ripple. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I mentioned, when I was first kind of trying to dip my toe back in the water, getting back into the kind of the heavy rock underground, I started writing for Ripple Effect, and that's how I met Todd. And we've been in touch the entire time. I've, kind of observed what he does and how he does what he does, and I was always intrigued and interested in it and liked what I saw, liked his ethic. We finally got to meet in person, I think a little over a year ago at Psycho Las Vegas in 2017. And it's just always kind of been out there that maybe if something was, if something ever came up, something was possible, we would talk. So this summer, I actually resigned from my day job, my soul-sucking, awful day job that I thought I needed to have as a responsible adult, and and thought that, hey, instead of going and getting another one of those, maybe I could see if I could kind of leverage what I've been doing for the last 20 years and the connections I've made and the knowledge and the experience I've gained, and just stay solely and entirely in the music scene. And so I reached back out to Todd and put that out there. I reached back out to a few people, but he was amenable to a conversation. I mean, his whole thing was that he was always buried. He was always spread too thin. And there was always stuff that he wasn't getting to because he was managing a lot of logistical stuff. And I'm like, well, logistical stuff is kind of my bread and butter. So, I mean, I'd love to talk more. And the timing felt right to him. Felt right to me. I'm not shy about taking on more work and getting more involved with more cool opportunities. I haven't left Magnetic Eye. I'm still doing awesome stuff with Magnetic Eye. We just released the Wall Redux, but now I'm kind of straddling a couple different things. So yeah, it's been great. we're just getting started. I'm still just figuring out, starting to understand how he does some of what he does, because I need to understand his process in order to figure out how to help him do it. And then maybe also how to look for other ways I can contribute to take some of the pressure off. But it's been fun. I already knew Todd was a great guy, and so I'm just seeing that more reaffirmed as we're continuing to work together. So yeah, I have the benefit of working with a lot of really cool people, Mike and Todd both.
Obviously, and you don't have to answer this, but obviously there's been some controversy with your previous partner at Meteor City, with Dan.
Yeah.
How have you sort of divorced yourself from that over the years?
Well, I mean, I didn't really have to at first because he was pretty public in, becoming, him and his wife at the time when they became the owners of Meteor City. And I was pretty much out. It's not like I was still hanging out on the message boards and contributing. I mean, I really kind of walked away for a few years there. So I was gone and really didn't know a lot of what was happening until I started to make my way back a few years ago. And to be honest, it's really just been kind of a situation where if there was someone I knew well back from the Meteor City era, then I might talk to them and get a sense of what they've experienced and figuring out if I can help. Like the guys from Solace. I don't know. I guess I don't have to. Maybe I won't go into like specific detail, but they haven't been. A lot of the bands have not felt like they were communicated with the way they should have been by Meteor City in terms of how are the records doing, what's the status of things, and so Solace was really one of, if not the best bands I ever worked with and ever signed, and I don't think they ever made a dime in their records, and that's partly my fault, because I invested a lot of money in them, and so their records never really had a chance to make their money back because I put a lot into what I was doing with them. So the records were always in the red, but they've never actually seen anything. So my hope is that in 2019, I'll be able to do something with them in a way where I'll make the deal so favorable to them that I might barely break even and they'll make money, just so that they can finally, after 20 plus years of doing what they're doing, actually see some checks come through. And that kind of thing. I'd certainly like to, any band who feels like they got the shit end of the stick as a result of where things went with Meteor City, I feel some degree of responsibility to try to help, even if it wasn't me or what I did that was responsible for it. I am the guy who started the label, so there's a level to which I kind of feel like I'd like to satisfy my own sense of my legacy by seeing if I can help.
Absolutely, I think legacy is a very, very important thing that not enough people talk about. What do you want your legacy to be?
Wow. I mean, I enjoy kind of being regarded as somebody who made a significant contribution to this style. I mean, it's such an underground and so niche specific and so narrow that most of the world will never know about it. But for the people that do, I enjoy it when something I've done and something I've contributed to, been part of, is kind of recognized. And so I think that was a big part of the impetus for starting this new thing. I mean, I love what I'm doing with Magnetic Eye and have been for a couple of years, and I can't wait to see what I end up doing with Ripple. But there was a part of me that still wanted to have something that was me putting my name on a thing musically and throwing it out into the world to the people who are into this, stylistically, and just being able to kind of, I don't know, take some satisfaction in that association. Like, people love this, and I helped create it.
Yeah. What drew you to stoner rock initially in the 90s?
Caius, pretty
Okay.
much. Yeah, it's funny. My best friend and this is kind of revealing, but like, I distinctly remember when we first heard Blues for the Red Sun, we totally didn't get it. And I really remember driving around Albuquerque as teenagers, talking shit just endlessly about how bad this record was, and how it just, like, what the hell are these guys doing? They have no idea. I mean, and then it clicked for me with Sky Valley, and I don't really know what the difference was. I mean, obviously there's a musical difference, but my belief is it was probably just more of a difference in me. I think I got a little more mature between those two records, and Sky Valley was just it, and I just went, oh, and it just that made sense. And then from then on, I was pretty much a devotee, and from Sky Valley to Circus Leaves Town to collecting and trading, bootlegs on the internet. That's really where, that's how we got started in the scene. I got out of college with no idea I got out of college with a creative writing degree with no idea what I was going to do, and came across a random Caius bootleg that somebody said, hey, somebody should really just sell this on the internet. And I went, oh yeah, you're right. Somebody should. So,
yeah, that somebody should be me.
Yeah, and there it went. And at the time, I didn't know. I mean, I knew Monster Magnet, Fu Manchu, and Caius. I was more of a stoner rock guy than a doom guy. I didn't know the Obsessed, didn't know the Hellhound bands, I didn't know the Melvins. I knew those three, and it just but that opened the door. And then obviously the whole world opened up at that point.
Yeah, and then it's interesting to see how much of the global stoner rock scene, which is really a huge scene at this point, is directly due to you and Dan in the 90s.
Yeah.
Who
I appreciate that.
Who are some of the overlooked bands from that scene who you want to kind of draw some more attention to?
You mean current, or going back to
going back, who did not get their due in history?
Oh man, Seven Zuma 7, Astro Queen.
I love that.
Even bands that did kind of feel like they were getting it then, but you kind of look back and it's just like, oh, this feels like it's been 15 years since anybody mentioned that band. Celestial Season, Chevy. Man, there's probably a ton.
No, absolutely.
Who was the band? Rebreather.
Okay, how about this?
Yeah,
who do you most want to see reunite?
Wow. So I have an answer that will be probably unsatisfying to that. I have gotten to a point where my cynicism is such that I no longer hope for anyone to reunite, because the chances that it will deliver are slim. And I've been proven wrong. I mean, like when Godspeed You Black Emperor came back and started making records again, I thought it was phenomenal and blew my mind. But generally, when bands regroup and try to revisit or try to recapture the magic, I haven't found it to ever live up to, understandably, what you kind of hope it'll be or always thought it might be. I don't wish for a Caius reunion. Certainly not based on what I've seen from the brushes with that. I mean, I was pretty excited to see Slow Burn at Psycho Las Vegas a year and a half ago, and it was fun to see something I've been listening to for 20 years for the first time live. But at the same time, it was just like, it just it didn't really. It's like it delivered, but it also didn't. So I never even think about it, honestly. I think there's probably bands that I hope haven't officially disbanded, and I just keep thinking maybe they'll just show back up in the new record. But there's no reunitings that I actually hope for.
Have you ever felt a desire to kind of branch out beyond the stoner rock world?
Oh yes.
And I mean stoner rock in the broadest possible sense. Like,
yeah. No, completely. The challenge for me is that I have spent so much time kind of finding my way in this particular scene and getting my feet under me and developing this sense for how to reach people when I'm doing something new or when bands are doing something new, and how to, I don't know, just my own kind of sensibility for what I think is going to be good and well received and people are going to be into the same way I'm into it. I've never really been able to figure that out for any other music style. And I assume it exists in a lot of other music styles, but like, you know, one of my favorite musicians is a singer-songwriter named Gregory Alan Isakov. I have no idea if there's a worldwide like underground scene for singer-songwriter type music.
Absolutely.
Like his, where maybe there is, but I'm not in it. I'm not part of it. I don't know how to reach them. I don't know what their you know, what their super desirable fetish products are the way I do with a gatefold splattered vinyl thing for the stoner rock fans, you know? So
I totally agree. I have that feeling about like blues. Like I have ideas for like fucking Clarence Gatemouth Thomas reissues that like would make a ton of money, but I have no clue how to do that. Or if I'm even like at all on point, because I love Clarence Gatemouth Thomas.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah. So yeah, and I'm with you. So I mean this is by no means all I listen to or all I like. I mean, it would never be enough, but I definitely don't feel as connected to that side of it, to the I could exist in any other scene kind of as a creator or a business person. I feel like I'd be starting from square one. It's possible, but it might take me another 20 years.
Yeah. And that's the question, is do you want to take another 20 years to grow this thing?
Well, I do have other entrepreneurial aspirations in my life besides this, but I don't know if they would be musical. I guess I'm going to see how Postwax does, because this was an attempt to kind of shift the mindsets of some people and go, all right, I know you're used to things looking like this, but try something that looks like this. And I want to see how we do with that. And if it's successful, then that'll give me maybe a little bit of confidence to go, okay, maybe it's not as impossible as I sometimes tell myself to be able to branch out into kind of the unknown a little bit.
What other entrepreneurial ventures do you have cooking? Can you tell us?
Well, I don't have anything specifically in the works. I did some research earlier this summer on like a kind of a high-end local small plate tap room, because I'm a big craft beer guy, and I spent a lot of years in the food industry. So love craft beer and I love to cook. So, you know, there's a part of me that always thought it would be just cool. You know, whenever you walk into a place, you're like, man, this was a good idea, but if only they had done that, and that. When you have the mindset to start to immediately see like what could be better about something, you are probably an entrepreneur, or just, you know, kind of a jaded asshole. But
isn't that sort of the same thing?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I tread the line between both. So, so yeah, there's at some point I think there'll be something food and beverage related.
Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, thank you so much for your time. And
This has been great. I want to point out. I want to say.
Oh well, thanks guys. Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for letting me expound a little bit on Postwax and what we're doing. I hope people like the sound of it.
Yeah, we're going to be linking to you in all of the relevant thingies. Curtis is going to be doing a press release on you guys.
Awesome.
Which you guys can collaborate on together. Sorry for volunteering you for that, Curtis, but that's
well, I was going to offer it. I was about, you must have read my mind, because I was actually going to ask him if he needed the help. I didn't want to volunteer unless he already had someone doing it for him.
I like how you volunteered. I like how it was news to everyone here except for Matt while being recorded. That was a nice touch. Nobody can say no now.
Yep.
See? So, point being, Jadd is doing some really good, really unique work that you need to be paying attention to. And, you know, do you have any other things to plug that we haven't talked about? Obviously, this has sort of been a very Jadd plug-centric episode.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for letting me talk for this much time about my own stuff. No, I do not want to. I don't want to further dilute the main stuff I'm doing right now, which is doing some great work for Magnetic Eye, for Ripple Music, and generating interest in and rounding up super interested vinyl heads and stoner rock fans for Post-Wax. So yeah.
Perfect. Absolutely. Good. Well, thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll have you on the podcast again soon if you dare.
Thank you guys again. I look forward to it. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Party on. And you and I will talk soon, Jadd.
All right. See you guys.
Bye now.
Are we done yet?